Welcome to the Ramblecast. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, we only say that if I don't have a song. God.
Oh, okay. I forgot. New to this. Do it.
In the middle of the night. In the middle of the night, I call your name. Oh, Ramblecast. Oh, Ramblecast. Our jokes will turn you on. In the middle of the day. In the middle of the day, I call your name. Oh, Ramblecast. Oh, Ramblecast. Our jokes will turn you on. I don't want to do long parts, I'll just end there.
Well, none of the other hosts would appreciate it as much as I did. So,
Exactly.
I'm glad that it's just you and I. Welcome to the Ramblecast. I jumped over Nick's wonderful rendition. And
So much
guess who's
humidity
just
in my
joining us
house right
here?
now. My voice is.
It's a minute late. 9:32.
Oh, you missed Nick's greatest song ever.
It was my favorite one.
Probably.
I'll go back and listen to it.
At least of the 2020s.
And that's exactly what my thought was too, Matt. Like I was like, well, I know Matt will know this song. I was like, the other two won't.
What was it?
It was a version of "Oh Yoko" by John Lennon from the Imagine.
It was just me screaming the whole time.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's a really beautiful kind of song, and there's a really awesome harmonica part
It's not
that comes
clicking
in at the end.
It's not clicking to me.
I
But
used to be able to play that.
It's
So.
actually in two parts of the song, the harmonica.
Yeah, the harmonica. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
just
that's
know the part at the end is very John, where it just kind of trails
Kinda
out.
everywhere, Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like that song, it never gets its due because it is Yoko in the title, people go,
Right.
but it's actually a very upbeat, catchy song.
Well, we won't bore people to death with all of our Beatles talk because that was our bonus. That was our last, I think,
2 weeks
thing
ago.
was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, because we did one last week.
I wasn't here. I was in San Diego.
It all kind of meshes together to me in my brain the last couple of weeks. So, is it, Jack? Explain the background that you have.
This is a show that's on the cock.
Okay.
It's Those About to Die.
We salute you.
No, it just says though. It's just again, but it just says that. I might as well say it. I watched the first episode.
Yeah.
I usually love shows about gladiators. So when someone says, "Do you like movies about gladiators?" I say, "Of course I do."
Sure. Show me your toga.
I watched the first episode, and I knew ahead of time because Peacock, the cock, they give you the Rotten Tomatoes ratings of it. And it was Pan, and it has what's his name from who played was it Randy Bolton? Not Randy Bolton.
It looks like it has Anthony Hopkins in it.
It does have Anthony Hopkins. He's the first episode. It's like he's like almost dead. He's just like going, "I got the big paycheck for doing this. I don't care."
Yeah,
he's basically turning into Marlon Brando. Yeah,
but he's the anchor actor.
Yeah, but that's a guy from Game of Thrones who cut off what's his name's penis.
Mm-hmm.
Ramsey Bolton. Yeah,
there you go.
Now. Yeah,
but I'm like going, this is okay. I see why people are giving it a bad.
The guy on the left looks like Theon too, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah. No, I don't. It might be.
So is that why
he was walking around with no dick? So maybe that was him. I don't know.
Is that why your handle today?
I say the problem with it is that I thought the acting with some of the actors were kind of. They probably gave too much to Anthony Hopkins, but it was.
Let me chew on this scene.
Yeah. It was. They had it's a lot of pilots make the mistake is they throw all the characters at you at once. It's like they throw it all up there, and you're supposed to try and pay attention. I'm watching this going, all right, well, who is this now? What's going? There's like too many different storylines going. You don't get your main story going.
Yes,
stick with that story, and then you get other people to come in.
Right.
They have a bit part that they just kept jumping around. I go,
too many jumps around. I think three stories. That's it.
Yeah.
If you have more than 3 stories to jump around, I mean, because I thought, what is the show from Amazon Prime, the game that we all enjoyed, the Fallout. Fallout, I thought did a great job of like the 3 storylines, the 3 character, the 3 main kind of arcs as they kind of happen, and then was there 4?
I consider it 4. I consider it 4.
Okay, but I'm gonna say 3.5.
I don't. You just can't have.
You have the girl. You have the soldier. You have the.
But they mainly have 3 title. They mainly have 3 title cards though in the pilot for each of the main characters. They have kind of 3 because that's what it gave me vibes of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because you had the you had the good, the bad, and the ugly. Exactly, you kind of did.
They just laid it right out there for you.
But
and the end, it is a triangle. So
Anyway,
it's not beyond though. I looked it up.
I do know though that like too many threads though can.
And to me, it's hard to make a bad movie about the Roman Empire. I mean, I know they're out there, but usually I go, okay, I can't wait to. I'm gonna want to watch it, and I go, okay.
Was it something about like the sanitation or the diet or the sex lives?
I don't know.
What is it that draws you to?
I like movies about gladiators. I was on an airplane as a kid, and the pilot asked me, "Do you like movies about gladiators?" And
what's your profession again? Stand-up philosopher. What? Stand-up philosopher.
I know you. You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah. No.
Anyway, I'm going a different direction. But it just was again. I don't know how many stories they had going on.
You're not going to get a word in,
but it was just too much. But anyway, for now, I'm gonna give it another try, second episode. But for now,
the show again was called
Those About to Die.
Okay.
Well, may my knife chip and shatter.
Okay, Atreides. So I mentioned the show last week. I'm going to give it another shout out this week. It's called Detroiters, and even though you wrote down Detroiter, it's plural.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's okay.
It's hard to read my writing when I've been drinking.
It's okay.
I wrote down the same thing.
I'm gonna like kind of mention to Jack. You liked the show Terriers. It's kind of like that show in the fact that I think the name it doesn't really roll quite right. But I love both Sam and Tim, the 2 main actors on that show.
Is it in Detroit?
Yeah, it takes place in Detroit.
Okay. All right.
Really fun connective tissue to Ted Lasso that I didn't realize, but one of the show creators of Detroiters, I'm watching it, and it's kind of a background character. So one of the characters you kind of meet in this show is this TV anchor person, right? So the 2 guys, they like to kind of celebrate or commiserate their failings or successes by going to the bar and watching the nightly, like to see their commercial air because they're ad guys. That's part of the premise of the show. They're ad guys.
So it's Mad Men.
It's kind of like it has a little bit of that, like kind of poking at Mad Men in a way.
Is it current? Is it current day or back in?
No, it's current. It's current day, except their offices look like they come from the 1960s, which you'll get those Mad Men vibes from it.
Okay, all right.
So one of the characters though is this TV anchor. I won't go into too much more detail about the show, but his name was I'm gonna forget his first name now, but his last name was Krim. It was something Krim, and I was like, that's so weird that it's like Trent Krim,
Oh, yeah.
Like I was like, that's such an odd thing, and I just
wasn't there.
like,
what? Oh, that's the guy from
Ted Lasso. Trent
Lasso,
yeah. Right. So
from
here's
the
this
paper.
news anchor. Here's this news anchor character in the show with the last name Krim. Sure as shit, like this is the connective tissue. Is this creator of this show, Detroiters, also worked on creating Ted Lasso?
Ted Lasso came out after, right?
Ted Lasso did come out after. That's correct. Yep. The show is from about 2007. This show is from 2017 to 2019, and it was on Comedy Central. Another Ted Lasso connective tissue is Jason Sudeikis. He's the big actor comedian that's in the pilot episode. So watch the pilot, give it a chance. If it's not your thing, move on to the next thing. But you should know who Tim Robinson is. He's a hilarious comedian, and that led me down the rabbit hole of Netflix. So Detroiters is on Paramount. If you have Paramount, you can watch Detroiters.
I have the pair.
If you have Netflix and there's a show called I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. And you've probably seen his bits on TikTok and Insta Reels. You've seen his face. You know who he is. He's the guy that's basically, I ain't done shit. Or I ain't done fucking. Or he's like, are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? He's that guy. A lot of those bits come from this Netflix show. I realize that some of you that are listening to this are like, yeah, we already fucking know, Matt. Shut the fuck up. But I'm just discovering.
Nobody said that to your face.
It's absurd humor, and I like absurd humor. So it's right in that vein of just stuff that is like so ridiculous and also a little bit kind of off the cuff weird. So anyway, 2 shows just recommending.
I will try that. I'll try Detroiters if you try that show I've been trying to get you to try for a year now.
Code 404.
Code 404.
Which is on the Peacock.
It's on the cock.
It's on the key.
It's on the, it's right in the cock.
It's right in the cock. I will do that because I'm now in a binge hole, basically, as you know, as you go through shows and you're like, oh, I'm onto this thing and I want to like devour everything. You're kind of
because I'm on season 6 of Modern Family and it's getting to the point where it's getting kind of the kids are getting older. They're not as funny.
They're getting
it's funny how shows like it's hard. Like I admire Jack for having the discipline sometimes to rewatch a show because sometimes they're just. It depends on the kind of the premise of the show and how long they are. Because if you already know the story and you know how it ends, he kind of doesn't want you to watch it again. Because right now we're kind of in a dead time where nothing new is coming out for a couple weeks or so.
Right.
And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch The Sopranos because I have not watched The Sopranos since it ended. So that's been a good while.
Don't stop.
And I got through the first 2 episodes and I was like, oh my God, I forgot how slow this fucking show is. Not that it's not it's a great show. It's just one of those like, by today's standards, it's very meandering. I felt like, and I remember that though about the first season is that it's still good. It's just, it's slower than what it becomes.
I did a rewatch about a year ago and I thought the same thing, but it's still so well written and acted.
Right. It is.
And Tony Soprano is such a great character.
Mm-hmm.
That should be.
I think there are shows that we watch that are plot driven, and maybe we go back for those plots or those dramatic moments. But comedy shows, which we talk a lot about, sitcoms and what have you. It's also a little bit like if the show's written well, sometimes there's those jokes that you come back to and you're, oh, I forgot about that. That is fucking hilarious.
When they hold up,
Right.
When they hold up, some of them, you're like, ooh, that one didn't age so well.
Well, wasn't that an email or someone wrote, or I remember us discussing it. Someone had tried recently, maybe it was on our Facebook group. Someone had recently tried to watch Battlestar Galactica, the reboot,
right,
for the first time, and they couldn't. It was on our Facebook group.
Yeah,
I think
Eric.
And they couldn't get into it, and I was like, we're like, wow, like how can you not get into it?
And we said, what episode you're on? And he goes, what?
Right.
You might as well quit.
Yeah,
if you're not into it now, you're just not gonna get. I mean, and it's hard because some people like different things, but
and some things speak to us at different times too.
Yeah, and that's and we discussed that like with the Battlestar reboot. Not only did it retell the original series story, but it also laced in some stuff that was going on at the present time, which made it very relevant. And I think that's one of the reasons why people probably can't get into it, is because they can't relate to what they're trying to say at what was going on at the time.
But I think those same things are going on pretty much.
That's true. Things never change.
Yeah. Things never change. They stay the same. It's like when I'm doing the For All Mankind rewatch. It's been so long since I've seen season 1 and season 2. I kind of, that's right, this happens here, this happens here. But there was an episode where they adopt what is it, Kelly? She gets, she wants to go to Annapolis, and of course, the dad. Why am I drawing a blank on the dad's name? He's pissed because he's had flashbacks of what happened to his son Shane.
Right.
And they were getting. It was such an emotional scene. I'm sitting there in bed going, "Stop crying! Stop! This is just a TV show. He didn't really die." And it was so well done, and how they led up to it. You're like going, because you think he'd be happy that she chose Annapolis, because he was making comments about her going to St. William and Mary's or wherever she was planning on going. And
that's a good school too.
Yes, but I said, but he didn't want her to die, so he blames himself for Shane's death. And because remember Shane, he was trying to teach him how to ride a bike, and he wasn't listening. His dad didn't have patience for him, and eventually the mom gets him to ride the bike. And then he dies on the bike. So I think that's and it's it's a few episodes later. So I think that's great writing, and it's great. You don't think about it at the time, but when I'm doing a rewatch, that's why I like doing rewatches, because I'll catch something I didn't do, or I get a different interpretation, and I like to watch stuff I know I like.
It's like the movie Shane. That's one of the things I always like as well. Is that is he dead or is he not dead at the end of the film?
Plus, another thing about getting older, you forget things. So that's the only thing good about getting older. It's like a new movie to me.
I've rewatched things with my kids, and right now we've been watching Rings of Power. Well, I watched Rings of Power maybe like a year ago or whatever, and I was kind of in and out of it, and I wasn't paying as much sense or attention to it. My son did a watch of it, like he binged that, and he's, I've talked about this. He's deep in Lord of the Rings mythology right now.
Who isn't?
So, we'll be watching it together. So he watched it, I watched it, but now we're watching it a third time with my daughter. And there's things that I'm like, I don't remember what happens here. He's like,
is this a show or a movie?
You don't remember?
On Amazon.
Okay. Yeah, it's Lord of the Rings. You wouldn't be interested.
But that's what I mean.
It's just funny because he gives me shit though about this. Like, oh, you don't. I'm like, okay, buddy, look, like I'm old.
Yeah.
Like
besides, we give you crap, but you're not that old yet, so you should probably retain some of that information.
I should, but I don't. Not all the time. Other stuff pushes it out. I
guess there's only so much, because you don't get to recharge. You don't get to get a cloud, an iCloud, or it's whatever it is. You can't, you can't take that stuff out, and because it just, I don't know what I'm trying to say, because I'm old.
I'd always heard that sometimes when you're trying to remember something and you can't, and then all of a sudden it hits you like 2-3 minutes later. You've literally lost another memory because it was trying to find the other one, and it's like
it's erasing.
It's deleting that one, and then we pulled this one out of storage.
Well, I used to laugh at because I thought I had a pretty good memory back in the day, and now it's just I mean, I remember stupid, like Cindy goes, you remember stupid stuff. I go,
I know.
Maybe it wasn't stupid to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's more like, why is it that I remember this random 90s song? Like why do I remember all of the lyrics to this stupid, like just some random like song? Like not even a song that I'd be like, this is a great song, or I love this song, or I've listened to it a lot. It's like, but then there's those other things that it's just like you just can't remember in that moment.
Well, we talked about, I'm not sure if it was one of those that Jack missed, because it was one of those episodes where we were talking about gaming, and so when the house got kind of put back together and I was buying video games on my PlayStation 5, like you can buy a lot of those old computer games that we played in the early 90s when they weren't owned by, whatever corporation. So you can get like the original Doom and Doom 2 and all these games. And I first one I played was Doom, which was the second, if I recall right, first player shooter game, Jack. And I remembered every single thing.
Oh wow! You have a pretty good. You're like a Rain Man memory type thing. A lot of times you not only know the album, but you know when it came out. You know the year.
Yeah.
You could be full of shit, but I can't question you. Because,
I mean, there's episodes of like, yeah. Go ahead.
I'll tell you. Yeah, like that actually. When I was the week before, when I was in San Diego, this young coworker, she's really sweet, but she'd only known me in a professional context. So like when I'm talking, I'm actually talking about work. I'm being very serious. Like this is all this. And all of a sudden I think I might have said this as well, but we're down eating at this restaurant, me, her, and a few other folks. And we're out looking at the harbor. And I go, yeah, beautiful San Diego, which is Spanish for a whale's vagina, and she just looks at me. She's like, really? I didn't know that. That's kind of weird. And I was like, I just looked at her like, you believe that shit? Like, but like one, like, God, I was like, you've never seen Anchorman? What's wrong with you?
When they don't know, I like to keep playing it out.
Oh, I know.
Just keep going with it.
But they're yeah, like there'll be TV shows like it's like, yeah, I can't remember this TV show. I just watched it a year ago. I can't remember how this ends on this one episode. But when I put on Batman 1989, it was like I knew every single fucking word to that thing. Like, and I hadn't watched it in like 20 years,
I also think with certain movies, like especially like that, roughly like Star Wars, roughly through sometime in the 90s, there was so much music intertwined with those movies, all those movies from like a good 20-year period, to where a lot of people's brains work that way, to where you can just hear Bat Dance, for example, or hear, Gentlemen. And like you'll immediately hear every audio that's happening in the next few minutes and know exactly what's going to happen. And so that's just the way I think human brains work, and we've kind of gotten away from that.
Well, I also too, like perhaps the age that we were too when we watched those things. It's like it's like the earliest. It's like an Etch-a-Sketch, basically, and it's like the earliest time in which people have etched onto our head, and then we've shaken it up a couple times since then, but it's still there. You're never getting rid of it.
I think I've shaken it too many times.
Well, we all know that.
And the sand is falling out, whatever that stuff is. But I think, you think about today, back in the day, if you're listening to the radio, you go, who sings this? Back in the 60s. Now it tells you.
Oh, I like,
it was Bon Jovi or whatever.
Eastbound and Down. Right. There's a scene where he walks up with a boombox and Candlebox is playing, and I remember it took me forever to remember what that song was. I know what it is. I know it's from 1993. I know it's Candlebox. What's the fucking nice song? But it's just funny how shit like that, especially some of that early grunge stuff. I like Alice in Chains. I feel like, I know who they are, but it wasn't really.
I wouldn't consider myself a music. I mean, I like music. But it's funny. We'll be in the car, and if we don't have, somebody go, who sings this? I go, such and such.
Right.
So how do you remember that? I go, I have no idea. I don't know why that popped to my. Because I used to drive a lot to work and stuff like that, and would listen to the radio and remember we got 3 blocks. We got a 10 block or whatever they're going to play. Back in the day with radio. But it's funny. I remember these names out of nowhere.
What really will blow your mind, though, Jack, if you really got into music, is how like you recognize arrangers or engineers or producers. They're not even the artist, but because of just the way that they produce a song, you know exactly who did it.
That's too much for me because I don't even really pay attention to directors, unless it's like a Spielberg or something.
That's what I mean. Like the style that a director makes a film, or the way an editor does something. Like you can go, oh, I know exactly who did this. It's just their signature thing.
Yeah, because they have a certain style, and it's like Jay always said when do that extreme close up. He goes, classic Spielberg, and I'm watching. I told this. I was watching the first episode of Columbo, and I turned to. It was a scene. Though I go, that's classic Spielberg to Cindy. And guess who directed the episode?
It's Spielberg.
Spielberg. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I go,
that's cool.
I said, see, classic Spielberg. We just do it to make fun of Jay because he said one day, "Oh, that's a classic Spielberg film move." I go, "Yeah, okay."
Well, I mean, half the time when I'm watching these shows, I'm just on IMDb looking at shit, So, or I get to the point where I've been watching it long enough that I'm like, who, you stumble across at least someone, and So it leads you down.
Well, I think we talked about last week the IDBM is like it's
IMDb,
whatever it is. I get it. Anytime I'm watching an old movie, I talked about last week. Like, wait, whatever happened to them? Did they do another movie? I'll go on there and I find out who they married, who their kids are.
I told someone about the fact that I'm like I always go to the trivia section, and they were like, "I didn't even know there was a trivia section." I said, "That's like my favorite part."
Yeah. Right.
And there's goofs and soundtracks, like so yeah, those are all.
We live a wild life.
We live the wild life of
the young kids. They're sitting at home going, "I'm so jealous of those 3 old guys."
Just all of our TV watching that we do. I mean,
in bars
other than the couple shows that I've watched, like I really, I've been watching the, I don't watch a lot of Olympics, but I like soccer. So, the women's soccer, the women's soccer team are going to the gold up against Brazil. So,
of course, the women's soccer team carries the nation.
Should be a good game on Saturday. So, looking forward to that. So.
I like the track and field. I think I said last week, I'm just amazed how fast they can run. Cindy and I were watching things she was watching the things, and she was, "You got to watch this one girl. She's wearing pink shoes, and she's running so fast, her feet are blurry." And we ended up having to watch like 7 races because she couldn't figure out which one it was. We found it. I go, sure enough, she's running it. I go, damn, that's fast. I mean, she's running so fast. Her pink shoes were so blurry. I go, how does a human move that fast? Plus, America usually wins the gold too. So
it wasn't the Olympics. I'm sure you guys have seen it because it's on my Instagram feed all the time. It's a relay race, and I'm not sure what countries these are from, but the last of them, it's this little. She's probably 5'2", blonde girl, and you've seen that. Well, yeah, and then those little legs are just moving. She can go, but then the woman who beats her just barely. It's just easily 1.5 feet taller than her.
It looked fake.
It did look fake. It's so crazy. Yeah. And then I'm sure you guys have also seen it's the cutest. It's basically the only thing I know about this entire Olympics is it's 2 Italian girls. I'm not even sure what event it was. They won the gold and the bronze. And then there's a Chinese young lady sitting next to one's the silver. And, they're kids. They're like 15, 16 years old. And,
one didn't even look that old. The Chinese.
Yeah. But the 2 Italians are doing where they fake bite on the metal.
Yeah.
And the little Chinese girl just looks over at him and is like, oh, like I have to do this too. And so she picks it up. She doesn't quite know what she's doing. She's kind of in front of her mouth, like what's going on. But
and all her teeth fell out. That was funny.
Oh, it's one of the cutest. It's one of the cutest things you'll see. Yeah. It's one of those moments.
It's pure. It's natural.
It's a pure moment. Yeah.
It wasn't staged. It's not something you see on Instagram where it's fake or something like that.
Oh yeah. So much stuff nowadays. So it's just.
But yeah, I don't think the Olympics, but I watch it. What I do is I just watch it on YouTube or.
Oh, you don't watch it on the cock?
I actually have watched some of it on the cock. But
now, have you heard about the Colin Jost and what's happened with
I
his
heard
foot?
he got. I watched it today. He hurt his foot with a coral reef or something like that.
Yeah,
he got an inner ear infection.
He's got a staph infection and the foot's all infected, and then he got basically airlifted out and replaced now. But I had seen pictures of it. He could, like, if that infection isn't under control, he could lose his foot or at least toes on his feet. Like those infections that you get from like that, it's no joke.
I've heard he could lose Scarlett Johansson because she likes toes. So
no, I had a friend who almost lost his leg because he had gotten this really bad burn. He rides motorcycles, got this really bad burn on his calf, basically.
Yeah.
They were down in Florida, went swimming in the Gulf or whatever. And then of course later went back to the hotel and went to into a pool, ended up getting this flesh-eating bacteria.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, they had to remove a whole area of his leg because of the flesh-eating bacteria. It's serious shit, man. Like that infection stuff, if you let it go, it can
well, it was probably going. It was probably going in the public pool. Those things are disgusting.
It could have been from the public pool. It could have been from the ocean. You know,
it could be, but my bet's the public pool.
Well, there's that too. So
because I know we have we have 2 pools here, and I go, they don't clean them very well, and I'm like,
right.
I immediately come home and take a hot
for sure
shower because I go. We're in there one day and there was hair. I go, there is, and it's not for me. Right. So it's hair all over. I go, this is gross. I go, because I've been saying, I got to go to a meeting, and why don't we get like 3 skimmers for each pool? It goes all night long and just picks up all the crap. And there you go.
I had a good friend who worked at the city pool where I grew up, and it's always. Basically parents would use it as almost like a babysitter. Daycare. Yeah.
Yep. And, drop the kids off at the pool.
At the public pool, you're
supposed
to.
Not just a euphemism for shitting.
Right. But you're supposed to, shower before you jump in and all that. So
right.
Every kid would just immediately run straight in and jump in. And you could sit there and watch it, like how dirty some of these kids were. Like they would jump in and then you could see like a little puddle of
little pig pins.
Yeah. Of just oh. And I would ask, you jump in there? He's like, only when I'm required to.
I have all the grandkids that can talk. Yeah. All the grandkids that talk, saying GGPs in the pool.
Nice.
Because we walked by her one time. I go, is the water warm here? Did it just get warm? I'm just joking. I go, yeah. I turned to the old, it's like Zach, Alex, Ava, and Hayden. I go, you know what that means? I go, it means someone peed in the pool. So now they go, oh, GGP's in the pool. And they say it loud for everyone.
Everybody.
I'm an asshole, but
it's amazing you're still married.
It is amazing, but it's like you got to have some fun.
Well, they used to say you were caca, right? Forever.
Yeah, I'm caca.
Yeah, caca.
I don't care.
We were fortunate enough, kind of where we live, that we don't have to take commercial breaks all the time.
Oh.
But this time we're going to have to take one here. Now, in all seriousness, though, like locally, we know a family that has an in-ground pool to really, and
now where the dead bodies are
at. We have
not a poltergeist thing.
No, but no, they're just family friends of ours, and it's been really great in the summertime because we just go to their pool, and I don't have to go to the public pool. It's like I just can avoid that. It is so.
I hate going there. It's so disgusting.
Yeah. So having a pool to yourself can be.
They're actually quite rare in Colorado. Like most people will go to a lake or a pond that allows like free swimming. Because there is 8 or 2, I think, public pools here in Loveland. Yeah. But to put in your own pool is actually not a no, but it devalues your property.
Really?
So people don't put them in here. Yeah, because you think about like how cold it is here.
Right. I was going to say be a skating rink in the wintertime.
Yeah, so you only really can swim probably 2 to 3 months out of the year in your pool. So the rest of the year you're heating it, you're taking care of it. It's you can't get in it. So it just ends up being a liability. So people don't put them in.
Yeah. Cindy, for a couple of years, we had the above ground pool, and I just said, this is just I don't want to do it anymore. It's a pain in the ass. You got to get the chemicals right. And that's when we had, before they cut down all the trees around us.
Yeah, you had the shade.
It'd rain really hard, and this stupid cover would fall off, even though I had it strapped up because all the water weight would do that. And then it would be off, and all the leaves are blowing all over. I go, this is a nightmare. She was, but I like to relax and just sit there and float. And I go, yeah, but I don't like doing it. I go, if you want to do it, you can do it. I'm done. Because we would drain the water out, and then you'd have to fill it back up at the. Because I said, this is just a pain. It's a pain in the ass. Yeah, it was expensive.
Anyway,
and so
all the chemicals.
I said, what if you? Because we don't. Our backyard just isn't. It's not for putting an in-ground pool because it's all trees and shit. But anyway,
there's shit. Wow.
Well, there is shit because the people have their dog. The people have their dogs and let them shit everywhere. They don't clean it up because that complex next door. And there's someone I know I've complained about this before. They bring their dog right before after our property, and they take a thing, and it must be some big dogs, and all the hair Is it there? And it blows into our yard. I go, I swear to God, if I'm out there one day, they're out there. Yeah, exactly. I don't even own a gun.
There are a ton of different neighbors in my name, like around where I live, that have signs up specifically about the pooping in their yards, because there's this one guy, I've seen him. He's got 2 dogs, and sure as shit, they've got one of those leashes that just lets them go wander as far into the other people's yards and let
I
them
didn't
shit.
see it.
And it's just like, come on.
It's just
like,
rude.
It is. I mean, I pick up my dog shit. It's not fun, but you know what?
I don't own a dog, but I pick up dog shit like once a week.
That sucks.
And dog fur. And yes, Randy says golfers, they do still piss in the woods.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be my second thing. Can we put a porta potty at the tee here?
Usually there is a bathroom in most good golf courses.
There is
in the ninth, around the 9th hole.
It's at the
what
6th
if what if you have
the 6th hole? I'm on the 4th.
Oh, okay. What if Jack, you put in the back of your yard somewhere, you put a fake camera so that it looks like you're videotaping them pissing.
I don't think they care. They pee where there's houses in.
Have you tried putting down bear urine? Because sometimes if you
you think they'd be afraid of the?
Yeah,
oh my God,
they'll smell the bear.
Oh shit! I don't think they care. I go. Yeah. I go. It's the 4th tee. You know, there's a bathroom at the 6th tee.
By the time you get loaded up on the beers, before you even get out on the field,
that's what it is.
You've already put down a 6-pack, so by the time you get to the 4th tee, you got to pee. So
then I had a guy one time. I'm in the backyard, and he's walking in. He's walking onto my. I go, do you need some help? He goes, is this wider than it used to be? Because the creek behind us it used to be like a couple feet. Now it's like 15 feet because everything next door. I go, yeah, it is wider. He goes, that's a damn shame. It's on your property. I go, yeah. He goes, I would sue. I go, well, it's a long story, but they let me have my fence is 7 feet over on their property. They didn't say anything. I'm not going to say anything. What is like? I mean, it's useless property anyway. It's just trees and crap, that weeds and stuff. So anyway,
Sherry mentions that they have a saltwater pool. Love it. The
what kind of fish do you have in it?
The neighbors that I visit that have a pool, they also have like a combined saltwater chlorine.
It's supposed to be better. It's supposed to be better for the.
Yeah, it's not as it doesn't. I don't know. Like when you're swimming in it, it's not as harsh. I don't think, but. You know,
you get stuck in the. Does you like float to the top because of salt?
Salt? Yeah, you float better with salt water. Yeah,
you do.
You got like a can of Morton's and just. Because I was looking at our can of Morton salt that we bought years ago. How did they make any money? Because I bought this salt probably like 5 years ago, and I'm not done using it yet. And it's not expensive.
Yeah, have you ever been out to the salt flats? You can just go out there with a big pickup truck and just take all the salt you want.
Yeah. So how does Morton stay in business? I guess maybe it's for the restaurants. You get those little packets, and
I mean they pretty much got a monopoly. I think.
I get it, but again, it's been sitting in my cabinet for.
There's more than just you, Jack, in the world. You know.
I get it, but how much salt do you use? And I use a lot. I'm a salty guy. I like a lot of salt.
I like the Himalayan salt, you know. Oh, would you like some pepper on that too? How much pepper would you like to have?
You're like the pepper.
I can go again. Not anymore. I'm old.
I don't cook a lot, so I don't use a lot of table salt or regular salt, but yeah.
I think Sherry is talking about her pool, saying that it's easier to maintain, but I like to think that she's talking about salt as well.
Yeah, I thought she was talking about salt.
Yeah.
I thought maybe she was talking about herself at one point.
I think she's talking about herself. All the old people that can't taste anything. So Matt K is saying that basically that's why we have salt, is that old people can't taste anything.
Oh no, I used salt when I was younger, so I'm have to draw the line on Matt K there.
Here's what traumatized me to salt early on as a kid, because I loved sugar. What kid didn't love sugar? We used to have this really cool sugar shaker in our house, you know, and it had this green top. And one time I climbed up into the cabinet because I was just like, I'm gonna get that sugar, and
I'm on a mission from God.
Yeah. So I go to pour the sugar into my mouth, right? It's
Who
salt.
doesn't do that?
It's all salt. I just poured tons of salt into my mouth. And at this point,
why was the salt in the sugar shaker?
Did someone fuck with you?
Okay. I was, again, probably 4. So I probably mixed up the salt and the sugar.
You weren't very bright at 4 is what you're saying.
Wow.
And so then from then on, I didn't like salt on my French fries. I didn't like extra salt. I just was like a anti kind of salt guy. So
well, I know my granddaughter loves salt. She's like me. I like salt. But what I used to do, because Cindy said, well, it's your fault. Today
you put a salt lick out for them to grow.
Yeah, I did. It also babysits. They're occupied.
It goes hand in hand with the beer urine out back.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I used to take my finger over the salt shaker and go, yeah, here's your salt. So she wasn't getting any salt. So Cindy was blaming me. Well, remember, you used to do that all the time with her. I go, so you're saying that was a bad thing to do?
Right.
You should have told her no salt. I go, yeah, like you tell the grandkids no.
Right.
Yeah. I'm the bad guy. I'm the salt addict. But I used to take. We used to have Tang as a kid because they
I used to eat Tang.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I used to take my fingers and go, and just
same with
up,
Quick. Chocolate Quick.
Yep. And
Chocolate Quick, I basically just lived off of that powder.
Yeah. I didn't tell anybody, but if my sisters or when they went to go make Tang, basically my dirty fingers were in that Tang. So
yeah. Well, I hope they're listening now.
My grandmother, I've never seen anyone else do this. She used to take Tang and mix it with tea, like
oh yeah,
yeah,
I like tea.
Yeah, no, but that's what she like the powders, like the instant tea or something like that. And that's what she would do. And like it was like a drink.
Trying to take the bitterness out.
I guess
because tea has a bitter taste.
Yeah, right? So that's what she would do, and then like make.
I don't get how people like tea. I honestly don't.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up drinking sweet tea, but then I haven't had it in 15 years. But I remember, I think I told you that was when I went to China, in 2005, a long time ago. I had
that was the last time you had tea.
Yeah. Look. Well, no. Well, I remember everyone telling me like
Chinese food.
I tell you, like Chinese food from actual China is 100 times better than Chinese food here.
Really?
It's because we put so much MSG and oil and all that stuff in ours to make it American.
And salt.
Yeah.
Well, MSG is also just a form of salt.
Yeah.
It's just a different type of sodium. But
okay,
but MSG is also in a lot of other foods that we don't
Mr. Wizard.
normally think of.
True.
No, I mean it's in fast foods, like
yeah, true. It is.
Look it up. Chick-fil-A, they put it in their food.
But I remember so many people tell me before I left, they're like, "Oh man, you're gonna have so many great teas over there." And then we went to some place that was known for its tea, and we just like had all these different varieties of tea, and like everything just tasted like hot water. I was like, "It's just hot water with some shit in it." But like I said, I never had
brown hot water.
I grew up with tea, so I had no idea. It's kind of like someone never drinking a beer and then saying like, "Oh, like we're gonna try all these different kinds of beer," and you're like, "It all just tastes like shit." Like that's probably what I assumed they would think.
Yeah, everyone in my family liked beer. I mean, tea. They like tea, and I just wasn't that guy. I could be dying in a desert and I wouldn't drink it. I cannot stand the taste of tea. I don't like it.
Randy is saying here in the chat. This is Randy, by the way.
That's
says
true,
lots
Randy.
of food.
Randy, who didn't defend me.
Randy is really oily. And then also Chinese meat is really low quality. Maybe that's racist. I don't know. Who's to say? Who's to say? But that's Randy.
Wait, come on. That's racist to say their meat's low quality.
I'm just fucking with you, Randy.
Are we talking about sex? Are we still talking about sex?
Randy has been to China.
Food?
Yeah, I have too. I mean, but Randy, also, I was a guest of the Chinese government. I went over there.
I'm going back to that one.
So you're a communist.
Die hard. You know me, Jack.
Now that explains a lot.
Yeah, no, I went over there, and so everywhere they were taking me, was all, I assumed, like some of the best restaurants in that area. So
okay, so you were like you're like a spy. Is what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because
Nick won't be on the show next. Nick won't be on the show next week.
Why?
Well, obviously, he said I was in Beijing for a week, and I was in Xi'an, which is in the very center, for the majority of the time I was there. Then I went to Chengdu for another week. But
Shindu.
Yeah, that's where pandas are.
And then Randy
I never
in
went to the
chat says
coastal
that
China. I was all in the middle of the country.
Tibet isn't part of China. That's not.
Might want to tell the Chinese. Don't tell the Chinese that.
Isn't that? Well, I might be going to Tokyo next year, so that'd be cool.
Really? Well, that's a whole different.
Totally different
that's
culture.
a whole different.
Totally different culture, Jack.
I get it.
Seriously
What the
offended
hell,
two
Jack?
different ethnicities right now.
I get it, but it's in the same area.
Nope,
right?
not. It's not.
Well, because China's so big. China's so big. Let's say, and I'd like to go to China because I want to go to the. I want to go to Disney.
You're crossing
Disney.
out you're crossing.
And then I want to go to if I can go to China Disney.
Mm-hmm.
I've done them all.
Does China have a Disney?
They have a Disney. They have a Disney. I guess you weren't that big a deal when you went to China. They didn't take you to China Disney.
No,
you didn't give them enough information on the U.S. government.
There's a.
The CIA's listening.
I think. Totally. I think I talked about this when I went to Disney World last year, but there's a show on Disney Plus called Behind the Attraction, I believe, and they do a really great job of showcasing Euro Disney and Tokyo Disney, basically all of the Disneys kind of around the world. But there's one about the castles specifically, so that I was kind of sucked in as to how they designed the different castles for the different and what they. So because the castle
you're kind of sucked in.
I got sucked in.
Okay,
I got sucked into the castles.
All right, into the castles. It's one of those.
Well,
I'm thinking Full Metal Jacket when you said that, but I'm not.
The when they went to make the one in China, castles don't have the same meaning as they do so that was a big hurdle for them to try to overcome or change the way that they were going to do the castle. So it's worth a watch. Behind the Attraction on Disney Plus. So they have a lot of different.
I think I've watched. They have a lot of behind the scenes how they built the haunted house and all that different.
Yes, stuff. Exactly. If you've been to Disney recently or you're planning on going, it's worth a watch. I downloaded some on the plane, so I could just watch it on the plane because I was really excited about visiting. So,
and there's people you can follow on YouTube that will give you great information on the rides and stuff like that. So, but just remember when you go to Anaheim Disney, there's no shade. So fuck that.
There's no shade.
I'm not giving up on this. I am not going to give up.
I don't blame it. It's just like I said, in San Diego, the zoo is a perfect amount of shade and light, and then SeaWorld, you will fry like bacon.
Yeah, well,
it's been there for how many years now? They still don't have fucking trees.
I have not been to SeaWorld. I guess I got caught up in the whole the whole Free Willy thing. Oh. But because it is sad that they have these whales and these you don't think about it as a kid, but you
have the whales
right. They may not. I don't know.
And they're keeping it so hot that they're just frying fish on the site on the cement there.
Gotta make profit somehow.
Yeah.
Well, that's why their stands. They go. Want some whale meat?
Well, I mean, Cliff
Shamu just died.
I went to the zoo last year, I think, San Diego Zoo, and he brought suntan lotion, and because he and I are always super pale. And
you guys are you definitely are two white guys.
Yeah, we're definitely two white guys. Yeah, and he all lathered up, and suntan lotion, and he said, "Do you want any?" I said, "No, I'm good." He's like, "You're afraid you're not gonna burn?" I was like, "No, I know the zoo pretty well." And so he noticed that I would look at I'd go up to the cage or the rail or whatever and look, and then I'd step back into the shade immediately every time. And he's like, "Oh, that's smart." And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm a white guy, and you should know this."
Well, Cliff was laying out like this. He thought it was the beach. But the zoo. It's amazing how expensive it's gotten.
It is. It was like 80 something, I think, when I went. Or
it's because when I was a kid, we would take the bus down to the zoo.
It cost a nickel one way.
No. Hold on. I don't know what the bus ride was. Maybe 50 cents total. But the zoo was free.
Wait,
for anyone. 16 and under. 4 bits. It could have been cheaper. It might have been 30. I don't know. But it was the zoo was free, 16 and under. Yeah. So we would go, "Hey, who wants to go to the zoo today?" "Okay, I got $1."
Well,
So
some
we
of
go
these
spend the day at the
institutions,
zoo.
they were kind of part of like different cities. I mean, the Indianapolis Museum of Art, it was actually gifted. The whole land was gifted to the city. It was for the people, and it was free. But of course, every company wants to make their profit,
Yeah.
and they basically did away with it. And it was something that I still think about. I'm like, okay, this was free. This was meant to be for the people, and now
Yeah.
That's why
now you've just kind of trampled over that.
Exactly.
that's why Great Smoky Mountains National Park is free. Like all the other national parks, you have to pay, to get into. But Great Smoky Mountains is always free because the land was being for lumber was being cleared out, and in the early 20th century, the people that kept petitioning the U.S. government to save it.
Roosevelt?
I don't think. No, I think this was past Teddy Roosevelt.
Okay, because he did a lot for the.
He did, but mostly it was just the out west. But
Yeah.
Places he went to hunt.
I can't remember what president it was that
He
actually
saved all of the places he went to.
The people though of the area bought all the land that is the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and then donated it to the U.S. Park Service, and that's why it's a free national park, just because it technically belongs to the people of East.
I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind a little fee,
but imagine that though. But then basically at some point the state's like, yeah, we're done with that. We're gonna go ahead and make our profit. That's basically what the city. That's what the city of Indianapolis did with the art museum. That's what I'm saying. It was donated as this, and then yet it was taken over. But anyway.
Because corporate greed gets involved.
Yeah, it does. It's just like, well, we're not making enough here. We need to bring in some more money, and so
because I know they need to feed the animals, but it's not like the animals are getting a piece of the cut. It's not like the elephants are going, yeah, I'm just standing here, but yeah, I don't get to see any of that green.
We actually went to the zoo recently because my kids were going back to school, and we like to kind of try to do kind of one last thing. Well, all of the Indianapolis schools had gone back, but our local town school, they hadn't started yet. So it was really nice because it's like it's a little bit quieter, like we could go there, and we were there.
The riffraff there.
Well, there's just a lot less people because when
you can say riffraff, it's okay.
Well, when school's not in session, you have all of these summer camps, which kids need a place to go if their parents need a place, but
they're brats camps, and they're out of control.
They do. They like take over.
That's all I want you to say.
They're like locusts or Amish. But no, we got to get a chance to go to the zoo, and it was
Amish.
It was.
Get your wagon out of here.
I had seen this Insta reel where it was saying, watch these Amish like devour a barn.
Oh, right.
It was sped up, and it was basically the opposite of them building it. It was them tearing it down like ants, almost demolishing.
I've seen Witness. I understand.
So no, but the zoo was really, really great though. The time that we went, because all of these animals were out waiting to get fed, or they had just been fed. So it was a sometimes you go and it's like, but the funniest thing that I saw was this red panda. It's hot here. It's hot everywhere, right? And
about red.
It's still like 10:30 or whatever, and this red panda is just walking out of its little hut that they have for it, and the look on this red panda's face, I might be putting my own emotions on it, but it was like, fuck this shit. Like it was like so tired.
I need to get another job.
Like like it was like he had been partying with the tiger. I don't know.
The Ben Affleck photo.
It was literally that.
Why do I keep marrying her? I don't know.
Face as it walked down this like thing, like, oh my god, fucking god, it's like 85 degrees here in the shade. But anyway.
Randy's asking me a question over here in the chat about he was in Denver last week, and it was very hot for Denver. 4 big wildfires, some kind of near Nick. Any problems, Nick? So yeah, the first one broke out actually next to my house, just west of me.
You started.
Yeah, it's about 15 miles west of me. And then the next day, one started in Lyons, which is just to the south, and the next one started in Neanderland.
Neanderthal.
Yeah, Neanderland is actually a very interesting area. It's just outside of Boulder. It's where all the famous records were recorded in the 70s.
Oh,
so Elton John recorded.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that studio burned down a long time ago. It was called Caribou Studios, but it's
Caribou.
I know
Elton
that
John
name.
recorded Caribou and Rocket Westies.
I heard it was a hot place.
You'd see it on certain record labels too.
Yeah. And Joe Walsh recorded Rocky Mountain Way there.
Randy chimes in. Dan
Fogelberg. Yeah, a lot of people. But so
is he still alive?
I think he died. Nederland. Yeah,
Nederland.
Yeah. So I took several photos. This one's probably the coolest one though. Of like, let's see if you. So like that is just taken right outside of my house.
Wow.
So
that's just pushing all the grizzlies and all the animals you have, mountain lions, towards your house, right? They could be right outside your door right now.
It could be.
I mean, they got to go somewhere. I mean, they got to escape, right?
Well, they can go north, south, east, west.
But you don't want to go your way.
Jack's been watching Bambi a lot. He's like, man, that forest fire scene is really intense.
Well, but to be fair, I mean, when they catch the animals have to go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
They're like, fuck again.
Yeah, but like the
we got to move again.
Was that there's 3 ways into Estes Park. The west side, you have to go through the Rocky Mountain National Park to go to Estes, and then there's one road by my house, and there's another one by there's another one by Lyons. And that's what's funny is that both of these fires started right next to the roads that go into Estes Park. And I was like, man, somebody really fucking hates people from Estes Park. It's like
they were started by a human.
I assume.
I think that people like that should get life. I know it's hard to catch.
I think it's attempted murder. Yeah.
You're killing. Not only you're killing animals. You're. I mean, it's just it's a horrible crime, and I think that people like that should be not a slap on the. I know that they are charging some people for the cost, and it's millions of dollars, but it's just like.
Well, then all they have to do is declare bankruptcy, and then
they should do life in prison. I mean,
Yeah, to me,
they should be forced to like. They should be forced to run do a podcast, with other people that have also started these fires, and it's basically like a therapy that we can all tune out.
No, they would be like, "Hey, what's the best way to start a fire in a forest? It's really dry."
Randy being the fourth Ramblecast person here because we don't have Chris tonight.
Even though I'm not talking to Randy.
I know that happened in Chico, up in California, where it was a guy that pushed his burning car down. But I'm not sure if that's what happened here or not.
I still say that we need to come up with a plan to make fire blocks and just gut trees out and just so these things don't go crazy. I mean, I know it's spacious. I get it, but it's these things once they catch fire, it's like you can't stop them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's sad too. It's not so for the human life, but it's for the animals. I mean, they're just sitting there, they just want to eat and live their life. And here we've got some dickhead starting a fire.
Well, this part of the country, basically July through mid-September, is just a tinderbox because it doesn't rain this time of year. If it does, it's like LA. It rains for like 20 minutes. And it's just like a mist. It's not really rain. And so there's no moisture anywhere. And so and the thing is, we get a lot of lightning as well this time of year, and so that's also
heat lightning.
Or just because I got a little weather gauge on my roof, and I get notifications all the time like lightning strike 15 miles away, lightning strike 20 miles away.
Get the fuck out of your house. I'll just say that to you. We had Debbie coming through. First they were predicting like 7 to 10 inches of rain. I'm like,
what a bitch.
Yeah, she is a bitch. But actually, it went on. I guess I kept waiting. When's it going to hit? I still don't know if it's here or not yet. It's supposed because it's stalled over South Carolina. We were supposed to get, and then it says 4 to 7 inches of rain. I think we've gotten like 2 tops. It's just like they kind of, I don't know. Just kind of pissed me off.
Oh, so you wanted a catastrophe?
No, I didn't. I don't want a catastrophe. I'm just like, okay, can we?
Rain.
What happened is that, like Cindy, my wife said, she says, every time they build this thing, like there's going to be some catastrophic thing, and people stop paying attention to it. Like last night at like 3:45 in the morning, my phone's going off. I didn't go to sleep till like 2:30. She goes, "Why is your alarm going off?" I go, oh no, it's a tornado warning. She goes, okay. So we both went back to sleep. I mean, but where were we going to go? We don't have a basement. So
I don't know. Randy said there was flooding, big flooding 50 miles east of Raleigh on the news tonight.
Well, all around us, it's bad.
Okay.
But then I was watching the news this morning. And
it's good to be trapped. If you're surrounded by trapped flooding, that's the best.
Yes. But I was watching the news this morning, WRAL in Raleigh. And I call this, I call this girl like Melissa Gilbert, because she looks like Melissa Gilbert. She's a weather person. They're outside this guy's house who's a tornado has hit and collapsed. It's 2 stories, but now it's 1 story. It's the second story smashed they're reporting live. They said, and they go, yeah, our neighbor said that that's his bedroom. So if he was sleeping there, that's where his bedroom is at. And the whole thing is crushed on top of where the bedroom's at. I'm like going, what if his family is watching this? I'm sure he has, kids or something. I go, why are you reporting this? They don't know if he's dead or alive. Turned out he did die in it because he was in his bedroom, not in his basement. I go, that's irresponsible. Why are you reporting this? I feel like filing a complaint with him, but I don't know how to do it. But is the story that important that you're, I mean, if you're watching TV, would you want to know, oh, my mom died in the storm. My dad died in the storm. Would you want to know that? Or would you rather have, be told?
That's nothing. Just okay. Cheesy.
Anyway, I was offended by the story. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
I assumed you just liked it to rain because it helps wash away all the shit and piss.
It does, but the golfers were still out today.
Oh, yeah.
They're out there in between each rainstorm, and
God would not interrupt the best game of my life.
I think the best has come and gone. Something like that. I don't remember the exact line, but I just thought it was. I go, that's just irresponsible. You're outside this guy's house, and they hadn't checked it yet because it wasn't safe to go in. But the guy eventually, it was reported that he passed away. He was 60 years old.
Oh.
But they're reporting outside his house. They don't know if he's alive or dead. I go, what if his family is watching the fucking...
Just go in. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, why would you sit... if I'm a reporter, I don't report that. I'd probably get fired, but I would refuse to report it.
Speaking of people dying, did you, it wasn't the Olympics, but it was another, like, what they call it, ultra marathon?
Oh, in Texas?
Yeah, it was in Texas. Yeah, the guy drowned.
Yeah.
He drowned?
Yeah, it's one of those where, you bicycle, run. Triathlon, yeah. And the end was the swim. And like swim across this river or something. And
he just disappeared.
So he's in the background, but you see him kind of like struggle, and then he just goes under, and then that's the last time you see him. Because the camera's focused on the leaders, but he's in the background. And
he was pretty close. He was pretty close.
He was pretty close, yeah. But he was just exhausted and just gave out.
And they had no one there. It was like 10 minutes later, someone reported, "Hey, he should have been here by now."
Right.
I'm not laughing, but it's kind of funny. But it's like the Olympics at the swim meets. They have lifeguards.
Yeah, the most pointless job at the
Olympics. Go. So you're going to jump in the pool and save these Olympic swimmers?
Come on. Well, I mean, if an Olympic swimmer, like, if they give out for some reason, or maybe there's a collision in water. And then they're like,
okay, say that the lifeguard thinks there's a problem. And there's really not a problem. But they jump in, and they hit the leader who's swimming at a world record pace.
Yeah.
Are you pissed at the lifeguard? Because the lifeguard's only like 16 years old.
What? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of other questions about how swimmers could be like the sport of swimming could be more aggressive, like football.
Couldn't they just stand up?
They just stand. No, I think it's deep. It's deeper than that.
Well, how deep is it? Because I know they have the camera. They have the camera in
as deep as your love, man. As deep as your love.
How deep is your love? Bee Gees, right?
I'll get it right, Jack.
It's Bee Gees, though, right?
It is Bee Gees, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you were singing "Staying Alive." Like it's 2 different songs.
Wow, we just
How deep is your love? It's not Andy Gibb. It was the Bee Gees.
No, it was the Bee Gees. Yeah, but that's one that they.
But Andy Gibb had no heart, right?
Too soon? Well, he was a Tin Man, and then he got the heart at the end.
Is that too soon? I'm sorry.
I don't know, but Dan Fogelberg died in 2007. Matt Triest gave us this information. So
yeah, I remember. I thought he died.
So I thought he died, but I didn't know. God, that's like 17 years ago. Well, rest in peace, Dan.
There's things like when you forget how long ago something like, because like hell, David Bowie's been dead for 8 years, and you're like, fuck, it's been 8 years.
You know, I thought it was, I'd be honest with you, I thought it was longer.
Oh, really? And he died in January of 16.
Because the years they just kind of.
But then then I was reading about like Philip Seymour Hoffman, was a great actor. And I forget the year he died, but he's only 46 when you.
How did you forget the year? You know every year.
Yeah. Come on, well, I remember when he died. I just remember the year he died. But and
drug overdose, right?
Yeah, drug overdose.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a conspiracy theory out there though that really Philip Seymour Hoffman was just Tom Cruise in disguise.
Oh,
they had the same little dot on the side.
So you're saying that he's still alive and Tom Cruise died?
No, Tom Cruise was always portraying another character
Tom Cruise
by
is
wearing the mask. And
Tom
then
Cruise
in Mission
is definitely
Impossible,
a
like
vampire.
3 or 4, that's
3.
the ones Philip Seymour Hoffman was in.
But
and he, so it's like he
That's
was just rubbing
the
it in her
J.J.
face
Abrams
at
one.
some point.
Okay,
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams one, yeah.
So my good friend Tom Cruise is still alive. Is what you're saying.
He's still alive. But the whole Philip Seymour Hoffman character is just Tom Cruise dressed as this person.
Oh, but they didn't have the same body shape though.
That's movie magic, man.
Movie magic, man.
Movie magic, man. It's cool.
Apparently, Tom Cruise has some Olympics. The Olympic end ceremonies, the ending ceremonies. There's some stunt that he's going to be doing. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was wondering why he was at the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. Don't you think Tom Cruise?
Not that he can't be there, but
yeah. Don't you think Tom Cruise will be? I don't know why I still have this up there. Sorry, Matt. Triest.
It was driving me crazy.
Here, we'll put this one up. This is even more cheery. What if Tom Cruise like died in some kind of like tragic kind of like stunt? Because he's always thrill seeking,
Yeah.
He's getting. I mean, he's about the same age as me. I mean, I understand we don't look.
You're a year too older. Yeah,
I looked like 10 years older than him. But yeah, at what point do you say, "Okay, Tom"?
But he's also had a lot of thetans sucked out of his body. That's what
I've had nothing sucked out of me in years, so I understand that.
I was another thing I heard the other day about Tom Cruise, which I thought was weird. Like you saying like how much he loves to do his own stunts and how much he loves to do all that stuff. But in not Stripes, what's the first one he did?
He wasn't in Stripes.
No, I know the Military Academy one though, where he was crazy.
Where he
Officer and Gentleman?
No. It's with Sean Penn and this is great.
Yeah. Anyway, then that movie though, they all kind of like how Band of Brothers, they all had to go through like an 8-week, no, it's not
Volunteers.
No, it's not Volunteers.
No, that's got John Candy and Tom Hanks.
Not All the Right Moves.
Nope. We're way off. I'm looking it up.
All Things Must Pass.
No. It's basically a military academy, is what it is.
It's Sean Penn. It's got what's his name?
And what's
Timothy
his
Hutton.
Yeah. It's if we only had IMDb.
Taps.
IMDb. Yeah, it's
Taps.
Yeah.
It was
I
right
looked it
there
up
all
on
along.
IMDb.
Mm-hmm. And TAPS is an acronym.
George C. Scott, who was
George C. Scott, was in it. Yeah. So in that movie, kind of like how Band of Brothers, like they all had to go through like a boot camp, in order to do it and portray so all the actors were had a room with an actual cadet, and then the cadet would teach them how to do everything they had to do and like that. And said Tom Cruise was the only actor that did it for a week and then went and stayed in a hotel because he just didn't like it. And it was like, oh, what a wuss.
Gus from Breaking Bad is in it.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Taps. I haven't seen that in years, but it was a really good movie. Jack was faster than Matt Triest.
Yeah, it doesn't happen every week.
It doesn't happen. Well, sometimes I'm too quick. I hate to be that guy, but as long as I'm happy, that's all I care about.
It's just funny.
Think about. I like Right Moves too. It's a good movie.
I mean, Tom Cruise has had an excellent career.
It kind of shocked he's never won an Oscar.
Well, he's only been nominated, I think, once or twice.
For Born on the 4th of July.
Born on the 4th of July. Because that's really one of the only times he actually tried to act,
I can't knock my best friend.
Yeah.
Everything
I don't mean that as a knock to Tom Cruise, but he actually did try to actually act.
Was it the opposite when he brought the guy in with the wheelchair? He said, "I thought this was going to be like the guy from Born on the 4th of July."
Anyway. That movie was, that was originally supposed to be Al Pacino. Was supposed
really?
To, yeah, he owned the rights, or somebody did own the rights.
He was supposed to play the part of Tom Cruise.
Yeah, they were trying to make it somewhere around 1979 or 78.
He was too old though, wasn't he?
By the time it came around to 87 or 88 when they made it, he was. Yeah, but it's kind of like a lot of films, like we're kind of like with there's another movie that's really good. Oh, Die Hard. Like Die Hard was actually a sequel to a Frank Sinatra film.
Right. Frank Sinatra was supposed to play it.
Yeah, and they had to actually ask Frank Sinatra first before.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now Frank Sinatra would not have worked in that part.
No, he said he laughed at it. He said, "I'm too fucking old." Like, you kidding me? Like,
no. Family Matters. Family Matters is a sequel to Die Hard. Mm-hmm. It's like because the cop in Die Hard, he goes on.
This is a stretch.
The thing is that no. It's actually Die Hard is actually a sequel to Ghostbusters. Because he's the cop that locks up the Ghostbusters in the prison cell, and he hears about the Twinkie story, and he's one
big Twinkie.
He's so scarred that he quits being a cop in New York to move to LA, and he's traumatized. He still remembers the Twinkie. It's this whole thing.
Right. Then after the trauma at then he goes to Chicago.
Right.
And he retires there as, what is his job in Family Matters? He's a police officer.
Did I do that?
Yeah, well, he doesn't come later, but
well, he may not have come at all. I know he's kind of a dork, so.
You know who's not coming tonight? Chris.
Well,
we miss our fellow Chris.
He's dodging work like usual.
He's dodging work. And he's dodging us. So,
it's like dodging ball.
The thing is that I'm sure Matt didn't read him. I'm sure Jack did. He said that his crown fell off of his tooth, and so everyone out there.
Is that what he said?
Yeah,
his crown.
So
I thought he just misspelled.
I thought he was Princess for a Day. I didn't know.
So that's what's funny. In our group text, he sent us a picture that he was going to go see Metallica in concert, everybody. And he had some of the shittiest seats of a concert venue I saw that.
Seen. Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
And he wrote with the picture, "No fighting," and I wrote back, "Yet." And then he said, "These seats are so terrible," and I was like, "Yeah." Then he writes this morning, "Hey guys, I got shifted to a late night, so I probably won't be there if not until late. And also, my temporary crown just broke off. What a fucking day." And I really think what it is that he got into a fight at the Metallica concert, and some guy punched him in the face.
The old guy kicked his ass.
Yeah, because he's not a young whippersnapper anymore. He drank too much. He got into a fight, and the guy hit him so hard that his crown fell out.
You know what song was playing? The Unforgiven.
Is that really one you want to fight to? I think it was probably Seek and Destroy or something.
I still like. I like the quiet, sad song playing as the you're getting the shit knocked out of you. No, okay. I just have to compliment. So I've had these my neighbors across the street.
Thank you.
What?
Did you say you're complimenting me?
So no, I'm going to compliment. So my neighbor across the street. They're getting work done on their house, basically, and most of the time, when you get workers outside, they can play a wide range of music. Classic rock. Okay, I'm down with that. So, but I might offend some people saying that I'm not a big country fan. I just gotta be frank.
Well,
you're racist towards country.
30 years.
Pretty much.
Country has
pretty
been country
much. If we're talking country music in the last 30 years, we're probably talking that I'm not going to be listening to it. If it's in the last 10 years, I'm definitely not going to be listening to it. So sorry to shit on country lovers out there. But
I'm a big country music fan.
When the workers start playing music like Metallica or classic rock when I walk outside, I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. Like, it's not annoying.
So you're one of those neighbors.
I'm one of those neighbors. I prefer if the workers don't have music blaring, but if it's going to be music, it should be music that I'm okay with. Like, if they were out there listening to disco, I would have some other questions. But I would be fine with that, So anyway, they were just playing Metallica the other day, and I was just like, right on.
What era Metallica?
Oh, I'm with you.
What song?
But
late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, it's the sweet spot. So.
Yeah, it's tough. I know Cindy wants to go to in August. John Waite, Foreigner, and Styx are coming to concert here.
Okay,
Raleigh. So we're gonna go to. I said, sure, let's go. I've never seen Styx in concert. I've never seen John.
And you still probably won't see Styx in concert. So.
No, I don't know if it's Tommy Shaw.
That is such a Nick comment.
Who's the lead singer to Styx?
He doesn't tour with them, so that's why.
Well, Tommy Shaw.
Tommy Shaw, yeah.
I love Tommy Shaw, but it's like, who's the other guy? Come on.
The other guy who wrote the majority of the songs. Well, his brother died, who was the drummer. And then...
Yeah, I don't care about the dead drummer, but it's just like...
He's allergic to light, and so he quit touring with them a long time ago.
What's his Saul Goodman's brother?
Who?
Saul Goodman, his brother.
Dennis DeYoung.
Dennis DeYoung.
Yeah,
he's the one that changed it sticks into like an orchestra, like an opera type stuff.
Well, I mean, he was one of the founding members, but he always wrote, that's why him and Tommy Shaw didn't get along a lot. It's because he always wrote soft rock ballads all the time.
Right. So and Tommy Shaw wanted to jam.
Yeah, he wanted to jam. Yeah. But like, Lady, Babe, Show Me the Way. All those are his songs.
Dun, dun. I still like the South Park episode where
Come Sail Away.
Come Sail Away.
That's actually there was a documentary that came out about Styx not too long after that episode, and that's what they bitch about. That is that when that happened, they were so psyched as a band, like the whole band, because they hadn't toured in forever, and I said, now's the time to cash in. And
well, Tommy Shaw left for a while, right?
For a little while. Yeah, he joined. Yeah. He joined. That little super group that one hit High Enough. Yeah.
Yeah. But then
he came back.
Came crawling back.
But he said, like, I can't, guys, because that's like whenever the spotlights would hit him, it would just cause him physical pain. So he didn't want to tour. And so they said, well, fine. They kicked him out of the band and said, we're going to tour without you. So I don't know how that works without the main songwriter and lead singer, but
yeah, like I said, I like that. I like his voice. He's got a great voice. Mm-hmm. Those look like those solar power lights you put around your garden.
They do,
don't they? But yeah, we're gonna go see that because John Waite. We like the babies.
We like the babies.
Do you remember?
By the way, everyone, I am sharing the photo that Chris sent us from his Pantera Metallica concert. So, and I assume
it looks like he's in the very top row.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of old people around him.
I'm going, but look at all the empty seats. Why is he so far back?
Yeah, there's clearly some spaces.
I don't know. Fucking Chris is cheap. Let's just say how it is.
There's definitely some spaces, right?
Yeah, there's definitely down, yeah.
I thought about they played at the Rose Bowl. I think the last year I lived in LA, and I thought about going and seeing them then, but the tickets were just outrageous.
We're looking at the.
All right, we're finally back. We're an hour and 19 minutes into the show.
We're looking at the seats, the lawn seats. Where you can bring in the lawn chair, and you sit there and listen to them. I've seen Foreigner before.
Okay. Sometimes
the Foreigner seems like that would be a good show.
Foreigners are really good. I love. It's funny. It's like I've never said, "Hey, I'm a big Foreigner fan," but you listen to it. They had some great songs.
Yeah.
So I said, "Sure, let's go. Let's go."
I guarantee if Chris was at that show, and got into a fight, I know 100% what song it would be that he would get into a fight with.
What would it be?
It'd be Hot Blooded.
Hot blooded.
Can't you see?
I got a fever of 103.
Randy, I'm not sure which one knocked out the crown. I took the photo away, but
it was the Queen of England who knocked out his crown.
Ooh, nice. And they couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back
together again.
It's a metaphor, people.
He was an egg. And why were the horses of all
I don't know.
They don't have any hands. They don't have any fingers.
Crushing the eggshells further.
Come here, Humpty.
And then I imagine, like, have you seen a horse try to use tape?
Yeah, come on. Or glue. The last thing the horse is going to want to use is glue.
If the king had sent raccoons, okay.
Yeah,
opposable thumbs, glue, half a brain, maybe at least part.
So we know
they also would have eaten the eggshell though too.
We know the king didn't really want to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, right?
It's an inside job.
Yeah, it was
an inside job because Humpty Dumpty is the king.
You might as well have had "Don't Stop Believing" when Humpty Dumpty just go fade to black because he's dead.
And no one really tells you what caused the big fall.
Well, the Magna Carta. I'm assuming
it was the other. There was tons of.
To be fair,
I'm assuming
what the fuck is he doing on the wall in the first place? He's an egg, idiot.
I would like to see kind of a gritty, kind of, biopic done on Humpty Dumpty. Explore this egg.
He deserves it, right?
He does. I want to see
why not be a
him rise up as an egg to the point where
a hard-boiled egg. Then he would, it might crack, but he wouldn't.
That would be a plot twist, as they say.
I think what happened was,
could be just a mini series.
Most kingdoms, the poor people are starving, right?
Mm-hmm.
They saw that big fucking egg on top of the wall, and they pushed them off, and so they could eat it.
No, but Nick, correct me if I'm not wrong.
The horses were out there with a skillet.
Correct me if I'm not wrong. The egg is the king, right? It's a metaphor.
No, the egg's not. Is the egg a king?
Yes, the egg is the metaphor of the king. He is the king. They couldn't put him back together.
All right, so how does a guy named Humpty Dumpty become king?
Because he likes big butts.
I'm from the point of view of the regular folks, and the king is just Humpty Dumpty.
Sorry,
I'm not buying that Humpty Dumpty was the king.
He did have a dance named after him.
I'm not buying it. In fact, I won't even be able to sleep tonight thinking that Humpty Dumpty was the king.
It was the king. Okay. I'm assuming that this is. I have no idea what this is about, honestly. But
he's not wearing a crown when he falls off the thing.
He was actually a cannon in real life. No,
so cannon. How does a cannon break?
That doesn't make sense.
No, sorry, Sherry, you're wrong. Wrong.
Sherry probably is so right.
Some suggest that the real Humpty Dumpty is Richard III of England.
Boom.
Okay.
Now, which time period is this? Is this post Magna Carta?
Did his wife push him off? Did the queen push him off?
A cannon that was attached to a wall and then it fell.
Iron. It's iron.
Okay, that makes sense.
No, it doesn't because it's iron. It's not going to break.
Also, why are you shooting out yolk?
Yolk, son. I'm allergic to eggs.
He slimed me. By the way, I know the Ghostbusters, the new one, Frozen Empire, which is a horrible name for this movie. I know it got panned, but I watched it on Netflix with low expectations.
It was
go into it with low expectations.
It was bad,
and I enjoyed it.
What?
I'd rather watch a Humpty Dumpty movie than watch Ghostbusters.
What did you watch?
It's not a movie I would watch again.
What movie?
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Wow, I liked it better than the other one.
Frozen Empire. To me, it's the acting is
no. I thought the ending was just a little clunky. Like I felt like they kind of like
I agree.
they rushed the ending. I feel like they rushed the ending.
Should they have stopped at the first one and just said, "Okay, fuck it, we're not going to do it anymore"?
I know you don't, Jack. Oh, see any legs? Yeah.
Ugh, I know.
I
He
like
dropped out.
Ghostbusters
This
2.
is unfortunate when this happens,
Yeah.
when we just lose Jack all of a sudden.
We've talked about
I
this
got
before.
kicked out.
Yeah. We've talked about this before. I like Ghostbusters 2. Is it the original? No, it's not. But it still has good lighthearted humor to it. It still seems like
it is.
We can't hear him anymore. It's just you're getting muted on this Ghostbusters 2 issue. You've bitched about it enough.
Yeah.
Let the youth rise up. This is our zillennials. We're taking over, man.
Well, it's like I said, like a lot of my major complaints with a lot of movies in the last probably 15 years or so is they tried to make them all young adult. Which I get that you're wanting kids to be involved and the kids are the market, kids will generate money, but I said this, like, it's nothing against the cast. I think the cast has done their job. Aftermath, it's the main girl. It's like there's a 15-year-old girl who's like knows everything. It's just like, what, are you serious? Like, it's not believable. It's the same as like with Twisters. Like, I just don't.
You're saying Ghostbusters is not believable.
That's fair.
No, I mean, just as far as like character development, though,
the Statue of Liberty is walking down the street. That's just not believable.
It's not believable. But I'm saying that, like, the setup for Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, at no point do you not believe that these guys are not scientists. Like they all have their specialities and things.
That's what made the first one so good.
Right. And
well, yeah, there's a lot that made that first one just
Afterlife, I thought could have been a lot better. I thought some things they did well in it. I lost interest in it in the grocery store scene at that point afterwards because it was too much of a copy of the original film. But up until that point, it's fine. This one, I felt at least had its own original plot with the Frozen Empire. I just felt that it dragged too long, and then the payoff with the villain was just all within the fire headquarters, and it's like, that's it. Like, I just kind of like, that's it.
Yeah, no. I know.
I've lost all respect. I used to go to Nick. I wouldn't even go to Rotten Tomatoes. I'd go to Nick. What do you think about this movie? I've just lost all respect for you.
Oh shit.
I like the beginnings of things, and I like the Paul Rudd character. So,
what's his name?
Paul Rudd. Okay.
I like his character.
He finally ages in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, okay.
Does he?
Well, so I didn't mind it as much. I think it's a good summer watch if you're on Netflix bored with some movie to watch. I enjoyed it.
I thought it was brutally bad. I didn't like it. I mean, it was okay. I
agree, Matt.
But it's just maybe my standards are a little higher than everybody else.
Sure, go ahead. Use that cop out, Jack. Matt Treist in the chat here. Afterlife forgot Ghostbusters is supposed to be a comedy.
Exactly.
100%. And I think that there's a lot of shows that when they miss out on that comedic, aspect, and they go too hard on the serious, like it doesn't. It's like it's too much flame and not enough oxygen. There's no breathing room. And when you're going through an action adventure or even, some kind of fantasy thing, you need the moment that everybody can just kind of have a guffaw, right? Because you've been holding it in, right? You're like
a what?
A guffaw. You're just like, like you're just like letting out. Like
I never went past high school. Sorry.
I can spell it out. I think it's a GU.
It's okay. Spelling's not important to me.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so I watched a lot of different, epic kind of saga shit, and if it doesn't make me laugh, it's hard for me to keep going with it. Like, I gotta have that moment.
See, that was my problem with it. It wasn't very funny. The jokes fell flat. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it has a cast that I love. It has Paul Rudd. It has Carrie Coon, who I absolutely love, and it just seemed like it was forced. It's like, okay, we're gonna make this movie, we're gonna make some money, and okay, we're gonna cash in on the Ghostbuster name, and it just sucked. It's just like, stop already, stop.
I mean, that's
it's not working.
Like I said, I liked Frozen Empire more because at least more of the original cast was in it. Other than the last bit, like an Afterlife. And then, yeah, they didn't play a major role, but it was nice to see them,
Yeah.
At least have some lines and contribute something to it.
Yeah. At this point, I'm like, okay, just keep the main characters out, the originals out. They're just tarnishing your name. You're just there for a paycheck.
Yeah, that's most people.
And I have no problem with people making money. I just don't get it. But it's just like the original was just so good.
We get it. Okay.
I get, but that's what I'm saying is you can't make it better. Stop.
Look, man, those guys were so coked out of their head in the late 70s, early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they got.
But you're lucky. You're lucky that the Blues Brothers actually has a plot that makes sense, right? Like, come on,
we're on a mission from God.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's when movies were funny and
amount of coke and quaaludes like per capita per person in the Blues Brothers. I'm just saying.
Who are you saying? Dan Aykroyd, Carrie Fisher.
I'm saying the whole fucking cast, top to bottom, right? Like even the musicians, they're probably
they got drugs in their name,
or they just
I don't know.
I'm not saying that all artists and musicians are druggies.
That's what you are saying.
I am implying it heavily with the Blues Brothers film. Yes.
Well, with John Belushi, you have to think there's
exactly for sure.
The guy unfortunately died from drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they made Blues Brothers 2000. Yeah.
But it was without John Belushi. It was John Goodman.
Yeah, they should have.
I never watched it.
It's not.
I refused to watch it because I was a big John Belushi fan.
Yeah, it had a few moments that were okay, but for the most part, it's forgettable.
Yeah,
I don't like Nazis.
Illinois Nazis.
Well,
it's like
pretty much just
there's a lot of room in this mall.
You can't pass through here. Why not?
Oh yeah.
He's like fucking Nazis are having their
parade.
The parade. He's like, I fucking hate Illinois Nazis.
It's a great one. Matt Treese mentions, speaking of which, the trailer for Saturday Night came out today. I haven't seen it yet.
I'm interested to see, what that
Saturday Night.
Yeah, so it's a movie, Jack, about
the first year.
It's the first
year,
Saturday Night Live. But and so they've got a lot of unknown actors. So I'm curious to see how it works.
Well, I know John Belushi is pretty much a dick. He didn't like women. He didn't like women. Well, he didn't like women. He didn't think they were funny. And you have Jane Curtin and Gilda Radner, who were very funny. So this is where I'm going to disagree with John Belushi.
For sure.
And Chevy Chase became the star, and of course his ego shot through the roof.
And that's why John Belushi didn't like him. It's because he didn't understand why Chevy became the star. He just didn't get it. He goes, I don't think he's funny.
He did the opening and he did the weekend update.
I always felt like because I would watch him on Nick at Night, like in the late 80s, early 90s, you could watch the classic episodes, which is how I watched a lot of like 75 all the way up to 85 probably, but mainly those classic 75 to 80 years, which is like some of the best shit, right? And watching them though, it's just like like Gilda like killed it in a lot of episodes. Like I wasn't even you're just learning these names and you're just kind of like, oh, who's this person? And then later on you're finding out, oh, what happened to some of them, and you're just like, oh, they're gone.
Yeah. Well, there's a funny sketch. Well, not funny, but it is funny. But John Belushi is the last surviving member of the original.
Yeah, I remember that.
He was the first one to go.
Right.
It's a black and white film. It was kind of like, they had those standalone films that they would make that were not.
I remember when
and he's going by, and then he's like the first one to go.
But when you see top list of, I remember we used to do back in the day of Ramblecast, people always go, oh, the funniest person was this woman. I go, no. And I would say Gilda Radner, and people like go, who? It's like,
sure.
How do you not remember her? She was the funniest, not just woman, but one of the funnier persons, one of the actors on the show. She was hilarious. But it's funny how you'd see her on like the Johnny Carson show or something like Tonight Show. She wasn't as funny because she wasn't in character. She was very shy, very, but she was hilarious on the show.
I think a lot of comedians have a difficulty with how you walk that line of public and you know, like the introvert and the extrovert.
Right.
You know, like everybody has kind of a threshold in which they reach where you're just like, this is it. Like I've had enough of people or being around people. And we kind of see little glimpses or windows, I think, of some comedians. Like people are like, oh, well, this person's a jerk, or they're acted like this one time. And it's like, you're really just seeing a tiny sliver of like a person that's trying to deal with like their identity, essentially, you know. I'm amazed that we've had successful actors as it is, you know. It's just like you'd think it.
Well, I think that they're putting the limelight, and especially now, I mean, there's no privacy. You know, you have to.
Well, they're expected to, like a lot with social media. It's not enough just to be a comedian or a star. Like all their publicists is like, you have to have so many followers, you have to have so many tweets, you have to have so many images per day in order for have these many people liking and following you.
Exactly. And I think it's hard to maintain that, you know, likable person. You know, you see, I know Chevy Chase has had some bad press, and I mean he sounds like he's a dick, but I find him funny, and I've always found him funny, and it's just you know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm sure he's an asshole, but I find him funny. That's all that matters.
That era of comedy, kind of what Matt was saying, is that I tended to divide them up into like those comedians. Like there's some comedians that thrive in the spotlight, and it eggs them on to be more funny. And so that's what I think of Chris Farley. I think of Robin Williams. I think of a lot of those Saturday Night Live guys that are that way. They want the attention because they really want people to laugh. And then there's the people that are just naturally funny that don't care about it. You know, like, because when I think of the guys who did like, you know, I always forget their names, but, you know, the guys that did like Spinal Tap and Mighty Wind and all those guys, you know, like none of those guys are like they're nameable to some people, right? But then it's like, there's some people like, oh, I know those guys, but you can't name their people. And I was watching, I think earlier today, it was just randomly on YouTube. So it's either the 30th or 40th, which would be this year, anniversary of Spinal Tap. And they're all just sitting there talking about
Christopher Guest. Christopher Guest he's one of them, but he's one of the main archetypes behind it.
And I think Christopher Guest is the guy that I'm referring to in this story, and that they're going through like some of the most famous scenes in Spinal Tap and like where they came from and how they happened and all this, and and you can tell at one point in the interview, like his brain is just going in a totally different direction than the interview. And they're talking about how without Spinal Tap, you wouldn't have things like The Office. You wouldn't have things that are this mockumentary type storytelling, that they basically invented this whole genre. And for some reason, he says something like, yeah, like Titanic. And like everyone just kind of stops and then they just move on, you know, and then like 5 minutes later, he starts mentioning Titanic again. And then they just keep moving on. And then, you know, it keeps going and going. And then finally, at the very end of the interview, he goes, no one on that boat thought it was going to sink. You know, it's just like, Jesus Christ. You know, it's like, but you had to hear it from the beginning, him build this whole Titanic thing up. And you're just like, hilarious. God. You knew it was just like churning in there the whole time.
Yeah.
You know?
Who was that?
Christopher Guest, I assume.
No, Christopher Guest.
It's Christopher Guest.
Who's married to?
I don't know. Who is he married to?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, is he? Oh, nice.
Huh. Been married for a long time.
Really?
I was at the wedding.
You were at their wedding?
Sure.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
I can say that.
Is there three of them?
So,
is it three
that's so
brothers?
Crazy too, because she doesn't appear in any of
Wasn't A Fish Called Wanda? Was he in that one?
I don't know.
He may have been in that. Yeah, I can't remember if he was in A Fish Called Wanda or not.
Well, they can meet at parties. They don't have to be in the same movie.
Sure.
I get him and his brothers often confused as well, because you know you have Jack's favorite movie, son of a bitch, Princess Bride, you know, and then you have you have a Christmas Vacation with his brother.
I'm always bad at guessing their names.
Yeah.
One of my favorite comedic actor, Fred Willard, who passed away.
I forgot he died.
Yeah.
A year ago, right?
You see, I mean, that is one thing as you're watching Modern Family, because you see him, and I love some of the little quippy things. He's like, "What? I can't drive halfway across, the country just to see my grandson build sets for this play." Because it's like, why is he there all of a sudden? He's supposed to be in Florida, but all of a sudden he's there for some play. But he has some really funny lines. But it's sad though, because
he's deadpan.
You see him kind of continue to deteriorate or get a little worse. Now, this show that I was mentioning, I Think You Should Leave, which is a very forgettable name. I Think You Should Leave, on Netflix with Tim Robbins. Fred Willard, there's a lot of guest stars on this, a lot of comedians that just kind of pop in, but Fred Willard is in this one scene, and I'm like, this is so kooky. And you could tell that it's kind of late Fred Willard, but it's just, man, like, well, he just kept going. He just kept going. He just was like, he loved making.
He's believable on Modern Family as Phil's dad.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I did
great casting on that.
Doing this rewatch.
Same with Shelley Long as she made a perfect neurotic person that would make Claire who she is.
Doing this rewatch, I noticed that all three couples are exact opposites. Obviously you got Kim and
Mitch.
Mitch are just, I don't know how they're still together, to be honest with you. They're completely different. Phil and Claire are completely different. She's high stress and he's
he's all like laid back and like
you have
Gloria and Jay, which are
Gloria and Jay. I mean, come on,
but old young,
old young, hot, and
Michael. Well, I want to call him Airman Trout, but he plays Jay's like old friend or his brother or something. He comes to town and he makes a cameo.
Go ahead.
He makes a cameo in one of the episodes. He played Ermin Trout in Better Call Saul. I'm blanking on his name. I'll look his name up. But anyway, there's a line that he says like where they're talking about, I can't hear no more. Like they have this little exchange between Jay and him, and it's just that line lives rent free in our house. Like we'll say that, and it's like such a disturbing kind of line, but. Like when you've watched a show or you've watched something and you as a family, you pick up on like those weird things that are said.
There's a lot of stuff you have to watch and you have to pay attention to because they have a lot of subtle jokes. They had one the other night. I was watching. It was one of the Jay's nights, and it was
Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks.
That's right. I traced right over here a couple times.
They had they're playing Scrabble, and Haley goes, I have too many eyes on my rack. And Manny goes, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was going, I got that. Okay.
When I think of Fred Wilford,
Fred Willard,
sorry, I'm getting dyslexic.
No, it's all right.
When I think of the movie Dog Show. Because there's this one line and it's almost like a Madden line to where because that's what he was. He was an announcer during a dog show. Like, and what are you going to talk about in a dog show? And all of a sudden he's just sitting there and all of a sudden he goes, let me ask you something. How much you think I bench press? Just ballpark figure. And it's just like because it just comes out of nowhere. I just can't.
That is one of my favorites too. How much?
Well, one of the stuff he did was what's it with Martin Mull? They did
Best in Show. Sorry, yeah. Did not say Best in Show.
Was it Fern?
Dog Show, yeah.
He did a show with Martin Mull, and I think a lot of it was ad lib.
But
it was like a talk show, if I remember correctly. It's back in the 70s.
And Martin Mull died too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's why.
I think one of the beautiful things about Best in Show, because I watched that recently, like last 6 months, I guess I probably watched it. But if you when you rewatch it because you pick up on different jokes or whatever, there's all of the preparatory. There's all of the kind of like establishing these characters, and the whole time especially when I'm rewatching, I'm just waiting for the dog show, because the dog show is the prime event. And it's like it's almost like a symphony building up. Like it's just like all these slow little jokes, and you have, of course, like the brilliance of Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara, like as a couple, and like her sexual weirdness, and it's just so wild. All building up to this moment, this crescendo moment of the show, and Fred Willard, of course, announcing it is just everything that he says. It's like, hey, that's one of those, like, do you think they make up little names for them? And I don't know. It's just his stuff that he says. It's just so non sequitur.
And you wonder if it's written or if he's literally just thinking it.
It had to have been improv.
Well, a lot of movies they'll do like 4 or 5 lines on each. They'll just go, oh, blah, 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 oh, blah, blah. So a lot of it's probably improv.
Well, that's what was interesting about this. So Jack, what you got? We're talking about. This is what guys talking about. This was talking about Spinal Tap, and I was watching on YouTube. It's either it didn't say what it was, but it had to be either for the 30th or the 40th anniversary of Spinal Tap, and it's just this interview, and they were asking about, the interviewer was asking about how much of it was scripted, and they said almost none of it. They said you can't write something like that. He said, because if you do, it's going to be fake, Right. He said, so we wanted to keep as close as possible to a documentary style movie. And so what we wrote was the characters' backstories and the history of these characters. So if you ask them a question, they would say, like, oh, I'm from here, or this was our 5th album, blah, 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 blah. But they all knew those answers, but their responses were everything just off the top of their head. And they might do 5 or 6 takes, but it was usually the first take was like the genuine reaction of like, oh, I know the answer to that. And it's, it's just absurd.
That shows you how talented they are, because that's not easy to do.
Right.
And make it interesting enough for people to watch it. So,
well, they said that what was interesting was, everyone who saw it hated it because they didn't understand it, because that was a brand new concept.
Yeah. Right.
And so they were like, this band sucks. Like, why would you make a documentary about a band that's so bad?
Right. But I mean, it kind of goes piggybacking off of like the extra bonus show that we had done. Nick and I I kind of talked about.
I get it. I wasn't there.
No, it was just us. Mainly me talking about Let It Be and watching the documentary on Disney Plus, which it kind of goes lockstep with that, because there's so many different Beatle references even within This Is Spinal Tap. So, but and just even the perception of it too, like how people, like Nick and I talked about Let It Be, and how people weren't ready for that. They weren't kind of ready for that, what was happening in front of them, but also kind of like accepting that like this was a kind of a new way of documenting, like as far as them having those cameras in the studio while they were making music.
Well, they were saying that as well in this interview, that one of the things that they really like is, at the time and even years afterwards, how many musicians love This Is Spinal Tap. This Is Spinal Tap. They said, like, he said, you wouldn't believe how many times they go, every time I watch it, I don't know if I should cry or I should laugh, because it's like, because this is the shit that happens. Like, and they said they actually got people that had filmed actual rock crews,
really?
To help them kind of to have that style of following through the maze to get to the stage and all that. And
it's been when did it come out?
84 or 83.
Okay, that was the last time I saw it.
Yeah. Oh,
I think I saw it on HBO, because I didn't see it in the theater.
Oh, okay.
But it's been that long, so it'd be like a new movie to me.
Oh. It's
well,
definitely
it happens.
It's great though, just certain things, like it's things like, the airport scene where the drummer's walking through the metal detectors, and the heat's going off, and he's pulling off all the articles of his clothing, and they get the wand out, and they rip around his pants, and he pulls out, and it's a cucumber wrapped in tinfoil.
I forgot about that.
And it's because, when I think of that, I always think of Robert Plant, because every time you see Robert Plant on stage, he's just got like a
huge
sausage
bowl
in his pants, and you're like, what the hell? And that's who they're making fun of. It's just
he's like the Olympic pole vaulter.
That's exactly what I thought of when I saw the Olympic pole vaulter
Mm-hmm.
and his bulge bump that pole. I was like, he's clearly got a cucumber in there.
The best joke I've heard though about that whole situation is it's not about that guy. It's like, oh, so you won gold? Guess you got a small dick, huh?
I got a small penis. It was cold.
Your penis.
I was in the job.
We should probably take another commercial break. Just saying.
Yes.
Have we been doing this for almost 2 hours? Shit.
Isn't that crazy? Sometimes they just fly by.
Yeah, and I didn't think that we would have anything to talk about considering Chris wasn't here.
Because he talks so much.
I know, right? Anyway, well, we stayed on extra long just in case Chris showed up. Do we have any emails today?
I don't think so. Let me check one last time.
I would say while you're checking, I was going to say going to comedians or people who do comedic movies. Sometimes they're not. You see them on the talk shows. They're not funny because they're not. They're just good actors, and they're able to do the lines that are written for them. But it's just you can always tell. You go, oh, they're really not funny.
Yeah, it is kind of a shame that there's not a, within the Academy Awards and the idea of Oscars and there's nothing where it's like, oh, best role for a comedic, like it's an actual comedy, where because
comedies don't usually get recognized and
it's hard. I mean, like you think it's just easy making people laugh?
I would say, I've always said it's probably easier to make someone cry than make them laugh.
Right.
You just have to run over a dog or something like that,
or turn on the news.
Bill Hicks.
But
Bill Hicks was a curmudgeon, like crazy comedian. If you guys never listened to him, you should. From the early '90s, he died of lung cancer. But he goes, what pisses me off, people? He goes, I'm sitting there the other day, just minding my business. Someone walks up to me, he goes, it takes so many muscles for you to, to frown. It's like, he muscles it takes for you to leave me the fuck alone. I
remember Bill Hicks.
Yeah, he was so funny. I always hate when comedians die, just because it's like some of it, just like Chris, like Mitch Hedberg and somebody. They're in there for a small window, and then
when they die, a little piece of me dies.
Yeah. But then, it's like when we were talking about a year or two ago, the George Carlin documentary, how many times he reinvented himself, even though he really didn't change that much, but he did. You don't think about it.
Yeah.
Well, he was a smart comedian.
He was.
There was a Leslie Jones from SNL. There's a clip that I'd seen of her on Reels that my wife had sent me, and it's a real good weekend update. It's just her talking about, it's kind of like her just talking about failure, and she's talking about the first time Oprah got fired, because she's like a 23-year-old punk, and she needed to get fired so that she could become Oprah. She wasn't Oprah at that point, she had to go through these, what's that?
Child trafficking. She's always accused of being a child trafficker.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Oprah from Chicago.
So, but I think just that idea that, it's like, oh, well, at one point these people were just,
they were just struggling to make it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what always bothers me about celebrities is when they always try to have that humble beginning story, but then they're fucking assholes. Like not saying everyone, but it's like you take Vin Diesel, for example. I always heard that about him is that a lot of actors, they move out to Hollywood and they don't have any money and it's so expensive to live out there. They end up having to, sleep on people's couches and all these different things. And I remember hearing an interview about that, or I'm not sure if it was Vin Diesel himself or someone was talking about that, how he would just sleep on people's couches for months and months until they finally would kick him out. Then he'd just go to another friend and sleep on their couch for months and months. And then he never paid any of them back. It's like, you ass,
Yeah.
Cliff can tell you the same thing. He's like, how many times, because the couple years, I think from 2013 to 2017 or 16 or somewhere in there, his first few years, he had two roommates, and one was an actor and one was a comedian.
In a small apartment?
It was a 2-bedroom, I think.
Oh, he's moved since then, is what you're saying.
Oh, since he lives in a very small place now. Yeah, he just lived by himself ever since. But when he first lived though, he had roommates because he thought it would be a good split. But a lot of them never had any money because they weren't working actors or comedians. Right. So he ended up usually having to pay the whole thing, and then he would just have a running tab, going, "You guys owe me this amount of money." And he goes, "Sometimes they pay me, and sometimes they wouldn't."
Right.
That's bullshit.
And he goes, "And I quickly learned to not do that again."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we said, living plus going to LA is not cheap.
It's not cheap.
Yeah.
No.
So
I can't even imagine, because it was expensive when I lived there, but now since COVID, I mean, I know that everything is just through the roof now because I was paying $2,000 a month in rent then, and God knows what people are paying now.
It's probably like $3,000. It's criminal how much it is in these places.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you see how much land is out there too.
Yeah, a lot of that land you don't want to live in.
Sure.
Or it's
either good land or desert.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like in between, right there at the Colorado-Wyoming border is really pretty. It's this rocky, pretty terrain, but there's no water at all.
Yeah.
And so you can buy as much of that land as you want pretty cheap, but you buy it on the condition that you cannot build a well. You cannot do it. And so you see these trucks all the time. It'll just be a flatbed, F-250 or whatever.
Why can't you build a well?
Because there's not enough table water or water rights. Yeah. So what people will do is they come into Fort Collins or whatnot, and they fill up these gigantic water containers and then drive them back home. And I mean, God, that would get old so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't take a shower this week.
Right.
We got no water.
Well, just to round out this show here, since we don't have any emails, if you want to send us an email at rcadcast@gmail.com. That's just rcadcast@gmail.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We are at Ramblecast After Dark. If you're listening to this on a podcast, go over to jandjack.com, become a member, throw us a few bones or more. We have some patrons that make this show possible, or you just join us live in the chat, and most likely we're going to respond to what you write. Randy pulling Chris's weight here tonight as the fourth RCAD or
I'm not Randy
well, and Matt Treast, of course, always with some research and dropping the knowledge. So
Google Treast.
Matt K also in the house, Sherry, and I think there was Jack Glatfelter was joining us as well. So
I was there for a while.
Yeah. Randy's crown is still intact, but we still have not put Humpty Dumpty back together again. If I forgot to mention someone, sorry you weren't there, but thanks for everybody that joined us live. Thanks for the patrons that make this show possible. Specifically Eckhart Richter, Maggie the Magnificent, Joanne with the plan, and Ed, the semi-decent letter carrier. I mean, I have no complaints from him. People keep calling him poopy.
I've heard he's lost a lot of mail.
Yeah, okay.
He puts a lot of mail in the wrong box. That's on it. He's always in the wrong box.
I heard he was the mailman from Animal Farm.
Ed, keep on putting that mail in that slot. So, thanks again, everybody that joined us live, and we'll be back next week, probably on Thursday again. So
funny fun.
Good night, everybody.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.